4 years ago, I started having difficulty communicating with my grandmother. She was showing signs of advanced dementia. It drove an interest in me to study aging issues and to begin studying gerontology with a focus on dementia. I wanted to understand everything I could about end of life. I also wanted to improve my communication with my grandmother. Being that she lived in San Diego and I lived halfway across the country in St. Louis, Missouri, we can only communicate by phone. Early symptoms of dementia are word-finding difficulties and difficulty following conversations, so she would always get off the phone quickly. When we did talk, she would do things like forget I didn't live nearby in San Diego. Early on, I would try to correct her, but attempts at forcing her to remember were futile. It was much better to validate her beliefs, right or wrong. There is a caregiving concept known as validation theory that was developed by Naomi Feil. Validation theory means you are supportive of the person with dementia, even if they remember things wrong or engage in unusual habits. This technique relieves stress for the person with dementia and puts them at ease. It can even reduce behavioral problems. On my next few visits with my grandmother, I got to put some of my new tools into practice. When she called me Kathy, my mother's name, I answered to it instead of correcting her. When I asked her something and she said, "I don't know," I said, "That's okay, it's not important." When she clapped her hands out of the blue in the middle of a conversation or patted the table for no apparent reason, I made eye contact and smiled. And the behaviors actually lessened. I learned to ask simple yes or no questions, such as, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" Questions like, "Are you hungry?" are just too open-ended. For instance, one time when I asked her if she was hungry, she said no, but within minutes she began pulling food from my plate. Clearly the word hungry held no meaning, but a visual cue worked. I learned to look directly at her when we spoke and showed her pictures of things I was talking about. During my last visit to Southern California from Portland, at 2.5 hours into my stay, my grandmother told me how happy she was to see me. Something she never told my mom. She even told me she loved me as she patted my arm. It was a wonderful memory to hold as my last visit before she died a few months later. I'm glad I learned better communication techniques for dementia. It allowed me to create good final memories of my time with my grandmother. And as more families take in their elderly parents, I think it's going to become increasingly important to learn communication skills for dementia for everyone.